What's up guys, Shane here from Team COG and I'm coming at you with a Valkyrie deck profile. This is a fun deck for you to take to your locals and maybe sneak in a win, but I would not ever say this is a good regionals deck. It is a very fun deck to play and you are able to spam Valkyries onto the field and it does what it's supposed to do very well, but the problem is the Valkyries don't have very much utility, so they can clear a field relatively well, but they are not going to do it as efficiently as to compete against the meta. But it is a very fun deck, and this is the most consistent version I could find or come up with. I do enjoy this build. I think it does what I wanted it to do very well, and that's put a lot of Valkyries on the field and kind of keep them there. And kind of try and run over my opponent with as many Valkyries as possible. So after Savage Strike, we got the new Valkyrie support cards. These are extremely good for the deck. The consistency boost you get from the new cards out of Savage Strike is actually so ridiculous compared to what I thought it would be. I ended up using these cards much more than I thought, and I ended up just kind of basing it off of the level 1 Sechste. But the deck is much more consistent now, so let's get into the deck profile. We'll start with the monsters. There's a 15 monster count. Each one is a Valkyrie. There are not any search cards for the monsters, like generic monsters, that I would play because I don't need to search the Valkyries as much anymore. So I don't run any of the, like a level 4 search or anything like that besides the Valkyrie specific one. So starting off, we've got 3 Sechste, the new level 1 from Savage Strike. She's a great card for the deck. She will, when special summon another Valkyrie from the deck, which is super good. She can special summon the Searcher for the level 4 Searcher. She can special summon any Valkyrie that you need to. Let's say there's a pop one, you can just pop a monster. And there's also the 3 which mills for spells. So there's really good utility in her. But moving on, she's just one of the core cards of the deck moving forward though. Valkyrie Vierte. She is a very good card as well. When I first kind of read her, I kind of underestimated her. But as long as you mill an amount of cards, it doesn't matter what the card is. As long as it's a normal spell, you can add it back. And you are running an extremely high spell count in this deck, and a large amount of them are normal spells. So she'll almost always get something, and because of the new Final Light card, she'll put some monsters in the grave, hopefully, and you can Final Light, which makes her really strong, really strong compared to what I expected. 3 of the Searcher, Drete. She's a great searcher for the deck. She can search any monster, and I believe she can search right of the Valkyries. I'm not 100% certain on that. You'd have to actually ask somebody who knew. I didn't have time to go look it up, but I'm sure she can because it's a Valkyrie card and there's Valkyrie and right of the Valkyries. She cannot search Mischief of the Time Goddess, however, does not have any Valkyrie in the name. So, moving on, those are the last Valkyries you'll play 3 of. I'm playing 3 of the level 5, Ziviette. She is a great spot removal. She can target a monster and destroy it, but you're putting her on board kind of mid-combo, so you're not really using her to remove anything that's like an Aturia Beast or something. You're kind of just getting rid of something that you would have to run over with Bare Muscle before. She's also one of the higher attacks of the whole deck. We've got the level 6. She is really good. She can grab Mischief of the Time Goddess from the grave, which is very convenient for recycling the Mischief of the Time Goddess, and since Verte can send it sometimes off of her effect, you'll end up grabbing it occasionally because of that. But she's really good because she can banish one of your opponent's monsters and then become its attack. So she will be one of your main beat sticks for the deck. So she's pretty good. I don't know. And then our last one, the secret of the deck for some reason, Brunhilde. Brunhilde is one of your biggest monsters in the right condition, but she's also one of your least utilitable ones. She just gets big. She can be a big beat stick, but only if your opponent's winning. So you're not going to summon her as often as you'll be summoning the others for removal. But she's still really good to out certain situations. As far as the large ones, the non-normal summonable ones, I believe 2 of each is a pretty good number. I haven't had to brick on them, but you also do want to draw into them for Ride of the Valkyries. So they're just really good at this number in my opinion. Moving on, those were the Valkyries. 15 monsters, they're all Valkyrie cards. I didn't want to run any Searchers or any other fairy monsters because I didn't see any reason to. Moving on to spells, we've got triple Ride of the Valkyries. Ride of the Valkyries is a great spell, and it's very needed for the deck. It special summons them out of your hand, and as long as you special summon 3, you take no damage next turn. So really, it does what you need it to do. It does have that huge downside of shuffling back, but because of links, you will have a way around that with the new support card. But it's a great card. Banish it to search Mischief of the Time Goddess. Mischief of the Time Goddess is the broken card everybody expected. You have to control only Valkyries, so you can't link summon and then use this card. But that's not going to be a problem very often. You only want to link summon after your battle phases. But she's a great spell for the deck. Obviously, she's your win condition pretty much. Being able to beat over your opponent's monsters one battle phase, do a little bit of damage, and then just run them over is a great strategy for fun. A great fun strategy. Not too great against the meta again, but Goddess Erd's Verdict. I'm playing 2 of this because it's protection. It protects from targeting ability or targeting effects and destruction. So they can't ghost ogre your Valkyries if you banish to increase attack or you pop. And they also cannot target your Sechste or Drite with infinite impermanence or effect failure. So the protection, I believe, is worth it for the 2 spots in the deck. I wouldn't run it at 3 at all because you will not be able to not brick on this card. Trust me. But it is a good card for protection wise. But finishing it off, the last support from Savage Strike that I run, I do not run the trap. I think it is garbage. Final Light. Final Light is the soul charge for Valkyries. It does not stop you from attacking, but it will special summon monsters from your opponent's graveyard as well, but they are going to be under 2,000, so just pay attention to your life cost and also pay attention to what's in your opponent's graveyard and what you are summoning, and make sure that they're worth it. It requires some big brain plays, but in the end it'll be worth it. Moving on from the Valkyrie spells, those are all the Valkyrie specific spells. They're really good. Sending any of them off of, just sending any of either Final Light or Ride of the Valkyries is off of Verte is really good, and grabbing it is really good. One note on Final Light. The reason I'm playing 3 of is because if you mill Final Light off of Verte and you add it back and you have a full field, you can link off into one of the Borals and with all 4 or 5 or whatever, and then you can just Final Light next turn and then you get a full field back instead of them all being shuffled back from Ride of the Valkyries. 3 Celestial Transformation. I didn't realize how expensive this card was until I went to buy it. But it is going to be like a $5 or $6 card for you guys. But yeah, special summon a fairy from your hand, that monster's attack is halved. So your Sechste is not going to care about this. She's 0 attack to begin with. You can summon like the level 7 or 6 off of this, and then when she uses her effect, she'll just become the attack to banish. She'll just become the attack of whatever monster she banished, so she doesn't care about this either. The only disadvantage is if they're there at the end phase, they'll blow up, but linking them off will solve this problem too. Valhalla, Hollow of the Fallen. I'm running this at 2 because you have to have an open board. It is pretty good because they'll shuffle back, but in retrospect, when you're trying not, since we're trying not to do this in this build, Valhalla, Hollow of the Fallen should only be played at 2, and it can't extend, so you don't really need it more if you're already in a play, so you don't want to end up with it in your hand. I'm playing 2 Transmodify. Transmodify is great in this deck, in my opinion, because you can end with any Valkyrie that you want that you didn't have. If you have the ability to get into one Valkyrie and not the other, say with Final Light or Monster Reborning it, but you don't have, but you want the one that's the next level, so you have the 5 but you want the 6, so you reborn the 5, you pop a card if you can still, if you haven't used that already, and then you transmodify into the 6, which will give you a banish and a beater. So transmodify is just a very interesting card for me in this deck because I think it has great utility, except for the only monster you cannot transmodify is Sechste. Hopefully they put out a level 2 for the next support, because that would be great. 3 Pot of Extravagance. Pot of Extravagance is of course a very expensive card. This has been hanging down the whole time. Is of course a very expensive card, but you gotta pay money to win this game sometimes. It's the only real expensive card in the deck right now. Most of the hype died down around this deck because it can't really compete with the meta. We don't know what's the next support round comes with it. When we do get that, I will update the deck profile if I need to, but for the time being, this is the build that I think is the best, and the best needs Pot of Extravagance. Banishing your extra deck that you don't use for an immediate +2 is a great thing. You only use the extra deck for, well, to try and keep advantage, but if you can draw 2 for pretty much nothing, then it's a better trade-off in my opinion. And it's not nearly as controversial as Pot of Desires. It just means you can't play it in span combo decks. And then all the one-ofs in order of importance. We've got 1 for 1. This will summon your Sechste and also fuel your graveyard for Final Light and Monster Reborn. Reasoning, you have all your monsters are different levels. You're playing multiples, but they're all different levels, so the chances of your opponent hitting the right card are pretty low. They'll probably just call one, kind of like they did back in Cosmo days, because that's the one that can get you the most advantage, but other than that, you're most likely to get a monster. Foolish Burial, fill up your graveyard for Final Light and Monster Reborn plays. Forbidden Chalice, this will boost your monsters, which have very small attack, but it'll also negate your opponent's monsters' effects, which can stop you pretty quickly. And then Monster Reborn, Monster Reborn's just an extender. If you wanted, you could take out 3 of these for, or even just these 2 for Called by the Graves, if you wanted to be a little safer from hand traps. But I think in order to consistently get out boards you will still brick with this deck, but in order to get the boards out you want consistently, you kind of want to have these just in case, and especially these 2. These are good cards, but if you want, you can protect yourself a little more with Called by the Graves. Moving on, you're going into your extra deck. We got 1 Link Karibo for the Sechste to link her off. 1 hit Hoshingun, it's a boost, but you can't use Mischief of the Time Goddess, so make sure you know what you're doing. Proxy Dragon, because it's a generic. Nightmare Phoenix, because you can pop your opponent's back row. Cerberus, because you can pop your opponent's monsters. Decode Talker, because he's a Link 3, that's easy to go into. And Borreload and Borreload Dragon, because they're Link 4s that you can just pop on the field. They have great ability to keep your Valkyries from being shuffled into the deck, is pretty much what they're there for. Borreload Dragons are just generally really good. Borreload Dragon is just another 4. Then we're running a small rank. We're running a rank 4 package because I don't ever expect to go into the extra deck that much. So Utopia, Silent Honor Arc, Abyss Dweller, Evil Swarm Exciton Knight, Castile, and got Cowboy for Time. Like I said, I don't ever expect to go into these 4s. They're kind of just there for bulletproofing for the links, kind of. But Extravagance is a strong card, so it doesn't really matter most of the time. But that's been the deck profile, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want, you go ahead and go check out our Discord. We've just recently made it. You can talk to a few of us there. Charles is over there. He can give you Crusadia advice if you want. We have a Cyber Dragon player. We have a few others who like to play just rogue decks, anti-meta. If you want to talk to any of us, you can talk to us over there. You can order field centers like the one you see here at the email in the description below. And don't forget to go check out our sponsors, Game Time Cards and Collectibles, and check out our Twitter and Facebook. Comment, like, and subscribe, and now I'm done. You guys can have the good rest of your day. This has been Shane from Team COG. Peace.